My guests today are special in more ways than one. He's one of India's best-known artists. She's one of the country's leading actresses. But there's much more to them than just their professions. They're unconventional, outspoken, and passionate about the causes they espouse. They also happen to be father and daughter. To find out more, here's Nandita and Jatin Das. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
You know, Nandita, the interesting thing is that today, although you're one of the country's foremost actresses, I gather that as a child you can't even remember being taken to the films by your parents.
That's true. Somehow film just didn't seem part of the entertainment thing. It was always either a dance performance or a music concert or a play or an exhibition. I don't know, I just never went. I don't remember seeing any films with him. Maybe when I was in college once, some friends had gone, but film definitely wasn't one of the main entertainment things.
And did you miss them? Did you complain?
Not really. I think when you had so many other things to do, often children don't have things to do other than watching probably television or on the computer. That time our days were packed. We always did so many things. I learned to dance, I was learning music, so one didn't quite miss it. I mean, we didn't even have a television for almost 8 years. You know, when every household had a television, we didn't. Sometimes I would tell him, come on, let's buy a TV, I think we need it.
What would he say?
We had a tiny
Very
Palora,
small. Yeah,
Palora
Palora.
TV. Yeah.
Which you would ration the amount of time she could spend on?
No, there was no stricture, but television didn't have interesting program even until now. Quite often they are very clumsy.
But tell me about films. Did you think that it was an inappropriate form of entertainment, or were there just no
At
good
the
films
time,
around?
At the time, well, we were in Nizamuddin and she and her brother were tiny. At the time, I did go to films, but films in the sense, films of friends. The Sukhdev was a filmmaker, documentary filmmaker, or Ray, or Manikal, Kumar Sani's film, we went to all the films. But at the time, they were very tiny, so they were tucked away to bed.
Because, you know, the interesting thing, Jatin, is today most parents would think that if they denied their children going to films, they would be, in a way, denying their kids something everyone else took for granted.
No, but he never denied. It wasn't like something we wanted and we were denied. Like in college, we used to attend all the film festivals. So often people think I'm being pompous by saying that I haven't grown up on commercial cinema. I have seen more of probably Tarkovsky film or Fellini or Bergman or our own Indian films, that what they call parallel cinema. But that's the kind of exposure one had. We just never
The
saw
other
commercial
interesting
films.
thing is that today, despite your tremendous success on the screen, I gather you're still not absolutely sure you want a career as an actress.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's my calling. It's somehow happened, and I would want to take the responsibility of it in the sense that it's by choice that I'm here. It's not that anybody's forced me. So obviously there is something that's keeping me here. Probably the desire to do good work, and I go through periods of disillusionment, and I don't like what I've done, or I don't like the projects that, you know, they haven't come up, they haven't sort of materialized the way I thought they would, and therefore probably I'm here. But I don't think this is my calling, and I'm staying
You
too
don't
long.
see yourself as a professional actress.
Professionally, yes. I mean, I would be on time, I would do my work. Professionally, yes, but I don't see myself...
A career actress.
Yeah, I don't think it's my career. I would want my interest to be my career or my profession. In fact, my father hates words like being practical, being, you know, this is your career. You have to love your things. So I think I'm fairly influenced by what he has taught me as a kid.
The word profession also by which you live. The word profession is also sometimes mechanical. But also by profession, it means that you're committed to that profession. You know, like when I say I'm a professional painter, artist, that means I've spent my whole time, energy, money thinking into my work.
So it's the commitment aspect of professional
right.
that's important to you,
that's right.
not the career aspect of it.
That's right.
But the interesting thing is that, in a sense, Nandita's attitude to films ties up with your own belief. You're not very keen that she should move to Bombay, the center of the film industry. You'd rather she could, nor
She
you.
isn't interested either. Well, you know, let's be very frank. My children have studied what they wanted to study, and one hasn't stopped them into doing anything. Only encourage them in whatever they're doing. But as you know, the cinema, this is my apprehension and worry and anxiety, which she's also not interested in going to the film industry as such. You know, the word industry is also different. Anyway, but that it is a very larger, it's a dragon which sucks you in.
That's
you
what
know?
he calls it. He makes it sound really bad.
The commercial world. You see, I'm not in the commercial world. You know, I'm a painter, as a professional. I'm committed to my work.
This is intriguing. You have the belief that were she to go into the commercial film industry, she would simply become a factotum. She wouldn't be able to determine what she wanted.
Without your knowledge, you will be sucked in. You see, it's like this. as I said, if I become a commercial painter, then when you use the word commercial, that means you are willing to sell yourself to come into the needs of others.
And that's what worries you. That's what you want to prevent by not
No,
encouraging
don't
her
worry.
to go
I
to
don't
Bombay.
think she's interested in
Yeah.
that kind of thing either.
Yeah,
But you know, once upon a time, because you began your career as an artist in Bombay, you looked upon it as a sort of creative paradise. The city's changed for you since then.
No, Bombay was fantastic. You see, there were people who were working in advertising, but in their spare time, they wrote plays, they wrote poetry, and they acted in Alik Padamsi and Justin Dikuna, all these
Your
friends of
Bula
mine.
Vaidesai
They
But
days.
used
that's
to
not
come
the
and act in
Bombay
plays.
of the commercial film world of today.
No, it's not really Bombay. That's right. I knew Baldas Sani, for instance. He lived in a little thatch house in Juhu.
It's the way the film industry is developed that you have your concerns about.
This is what.
And rightly so to some extent. I mean, of course, he thinks of it as a real dragon. I think there are good and bad people everywhere, but as a system, it can suck you in. You know, it can make you self-obsessive, it can make you insecure. There's far more competition. You have to be your own marketing person. There are a whole lot of things by which your quality of life can change.
It's not only in cinema, it's also in painting today.
In
You
every
see,
field,
it's not really cinema or Bombay, which would be a wrong thing
It's
to
commerce.
say. No, it is all over the world, and India in general. People have become like this. It's amazing.
But
you
what
know?
makes them like this? Is it commerce? Is it the rat race? Or is it simply the need for public recognition?
No, I think it's consumer society. Today, every kid, a young teenager, is only talking of money.
Yeah.
He's talking of money. It's very sad. You see, a student of mine, when I telephoned him, or a young artist, to come and help me in my studio, the first thing on the telephone he asked, how much would you pay? And my professor in Bombay, if he told me, come to my studio today, it was my day was made, and I told all my friends, you know, my professor asked me to come to his studio. What a great honor to help him to learn.
The
You know,
reverence
the whole-
rather than the money. You know,
Yeah.
strangely, this ties up with your own views, because I gather you believe that it's more important to be part of the process of making a film. You don't care whether the film itself is popular or a failure.
Yeah, I mean, a good film necessarily may not, you know, be a hit or, I mean, whether it's a hit or a flop, as they say, is not as important as the process. Of course, you want your film to be good. By the end of it, so much effort has gone in. When you see the film, you want to feel proud of it, that you've been part of it. But the process is surely very important. Sometimes films have been more or less successful or have been appreciated. But if I have not liked the process, if I have not really enjoyed working, if I have not liked the team or the way it happened, it does leave a kind of a bitter taste.
So is this why when one looks at your films, one sees that you've done so many different films in so many different languages, and you've always played courageously different roles each time?
Well, I've tried, because also there isn't that much of work that I really like to do. I mean, if suppose there are 10 good films, first of all 10 are not going to come to me. And out of the ones that come to me, all of them are not the kinds that I like. So that leaves very few films that I'm actually finally going to do. And there are so many factors involved that I think, you know, the audience, the way they perceive an actor, they perceive them much larger than they are. As in, an actor has just a very little part to play in it. How it's going to be edited, who are going to be your co-actors, how it's going to be shot. Some scenes you do it with complete passion and involvement. They're not even there in the film. You know, so everything can change. So you realize you have so little say in it. So you just hope that good films will come, and therefore I try and do also regional films where language, I mean, speaking these different languages, whether it's Malayalam, Kannada, you know, Tamil, these are difficult to speak, but at least you feel that, okay, there are talents in other parts of the country, there are good roles, there are lovely stories. So if you can go through this hurdle of language, maybe you can be part of other projects where I think commercial pressure is also lesser.
You in a way, Jatin, reflect the same detachment, don't you? Because you've always believed that rather than selling paintings, what's important to you is that your painting should go into good hands, the right hands.
Right.
No, you see, first of all, you know, me as a painter, that you live on the sale of your work, but you don't paint for selling. You're fine. So this is one. I mean, I can't speak on behalf of other artists. But the other day, Krishan at a function said something very interesting.
who?
Krishan Khanna. He said
The
something
artist?
the famous Indian artist. He said something very interesting. He said his generation has something called a bite. They were critical of each other's work, they were critical of themselves, and they did not sell themselves. You know, which is a
So
very
in other
interesting
words,
part.
it's not the selling. What matters to you is the painting should be appreciated and understood.
Yeah, well, understood, I don't know, but appreciated.
for.
No, you know, there should be looking, there should be looked at. People with affection, with, you know, there's an old saying.
But then, excuse me, what happens when today, because you're famous, people buy you out of fashion rather than appreciation?
No, first of all, I sell much less than many of my contemporaries, number one. Number two, my kind of painting, I paint bare figures. Everybody do not buy it because even they like it, they can't put it in their office or somewhere.
So that's your insurance against the wrong
No,
sort of buyer.
number one. Number two, as I said, I live on the sales, but some of my younger artists earn 10 times more than I do, you know. But I have no heartburn for those who are doing very well financially. I have lived like that with this attitude all along my life. And similar artist friends of mine in the country, there are some who also dedicated themselves to work. And but on the other hand, you also need money to survive and to work because you need art material, which is expensive.
When you make a film, who are you making it for? Whose appreciation is reward for you?
People I respect, whose views I respect, friends, family. Could be an acquaintance who I think has a sharp, sensitive mind. When they tell you, yeah, I really like this film, it means a lot to me. Or sometimes they say, why did you do this film? And you have to tell them the whole story because you again tell them that, look, I thought it was going to be like this, but it didn't turn out. So I think real appreciation is...
But are you hurt when the critics turn around and damn something? They haven't done too much of that yet, but...
Well, I mean, they keep doing that. They sometimes praise you, they sometimes trash you, but that's part of it. That's part of the baggage that comes with it. I don't take the flattery too seriously, and I don't therefore take the brickbats too seriously.
You once said, Jatin, that painting is a voyage of self-discovery. Do you paint for yourself?
But this is not only my saying, that artists all over the world have the same concern, same interest, and similar attitude to their work and life.
Except that some of your work, clearly, I'm talking about the steel structure in Bhilai, I'm talking about the 60-foot mural in Parliament, is also for public appreciation. In a sense, those are public statements, aren't they?
Yeah, well, these are works done for public bodies, but they're not necessarily public statement. When you say, when you make a painting for Babri Masjid, or for the killings in Punjab or in Cambodia or Vietnam, then you're making a public statement, like in Samat when we work and do this. But the mural, let me talking about the mural and like Nandita was talking about the criticism or the critics or the reviewers. You'll be shocked to know, I spent 2.5 years doing this large mural of 7 feet by 68 feet. And one journalist wrote, she has the audacity to write, that it was a waste of taxpayers' money.
Did it hurt that comment?
No, it's not hurt, but sometimes upstarts write about things. Then Dom Rice once told me, Jatin, whenever somebody writes like that, just ignore it. But in a civil...
That's a very interesting attitude, and probably a necessary one. Ignore those who don't have the ability or the capacity or even the right to criticize.
Yeah, but
Not just the right. I mean, it's just that you can't let everything affect you. I think if you're honest to yourself, it shouldn't really bother. Because then somebody, just because you're going to say good things to you, it doesn't mean that
it's not good and bad. I'm saying something else. I'm saying everything affects me. I don't know about others. Everything I do or around me. If I'm going, once I remember Raghu was holding an exhibition. And at India Gate,
Raghurai,
yeah. And I was rushing, and I suddenly saw at India Gate somebody was knocked down. So I stopped, and I indulged, and saw that that person was taken to the hospital. And I missed the exhibition opening. So what I'm saying is everything affects you. But when you live in an urban setting, sometimes you have blinkers, you let certain amount of affectation come to you. And when you screen it, you also feel upset. Okay. But having said that, what I was saying, that everything affects you, but as I was mentioning about Dom, that when you are quiet or you don't respond to a thing, some people think that you are weak. This is quite...
One can always be misjudged. Let's take a break at that point. I want to come back and talk to you afterwards in part 2, a bit more about yourselves, about the relationship between the two of you as father and daughter, people who have unconventional but challenging views. We'll be back in a moment's time. See you then. Welcome back. My guests are Nandita and Jatin Das. Let's talk a little about each of you. With a father who's a famous artist and a man of very strong likes and dislikes, what sort of childhood did you have?
Childhood with a lot of freedom, a lot of questions asked and a lot of answering back, which I think he sometimes regrets now because...
Were you a rebel?
Sort of. I mean, I'm 50% of all that he is, the good and the bad.
All my negatives.
No, and I hope some of the positives too. So, which means passionate, idealistic, angry, impulsive, restless, whatever. So, but we got a lot of freedom. We were never told that you have to study. To the extent, sometimes it used to really bug me because, I would have my board exam and he would say, go and water the plants. And I
That
would
was
say,
exactly
no, I have
the
an
advice
exam.
he gave you, was it? Go water the plants.
Because I would be all tensed, and obviously he's not going to help me with maths because I don't think he knows much
I'm terrible
maths.
in math.
So was I. See, 50%. I was slightly better than him. And he would tell me, go water the plants. Don't leave your Odyssey dance class till your exam date. So, I mean, now I find them all wonderful that one had such a holistic growth and all that. But at that time,
Were you a bit uncertain of the sort of advice you were getting?
I just thought there was complete lack of discipline, and that all my friends' parents would tell them completely opposite things from what my father
the
would.
pressure, the pressure. There was no pressure.
You sometimes said to your father, Daddy, be more of a daddy and discipline me.
Yeah, tell me to study. I mean, that's what all fathers are supposed to say.
The interesting thing, Jatin, is you brought up Nandita and your son Siddharth, giving them freedom to be the way they were, and more importantly, freedom to make their own mistakes. But were you ever concerned or worried that they might just go astray?
No, it's not I give them the freedom.
They took it.
I believe in the freedom in which we all lived. So it's a part of living together, and you believed in those attitudes to life, hence they had it. It's not a question of me giving a big hand for them, not with that attitude. But we all participated. Like when she was a little baby before Siddharth was born, we took her everywhere to every exhibition. She knew all the artists, the dancers, the musicians. You know what I mean?
And then I would sleep off there,
Yeah.
and they would bring
And
me
somebody
back.
would look after her, or etc.
So you wanted her from the very word go
Hmm.
to be an adult, not treated like a child.
That's not at all.
No,
That's
no,
not
no,
true.
no.
That's not
He
true at
in
all.
fact says even if you are 90, you have to be able to retain your childlikeness. So
That's
to
right.
be a child, but not that you have to do this because you're a child, or you cannot understand this because you are too young. You don't
No,
have
I'll
to-
answer that. You see, you didn't have, at that time, all our friends used to take our children to these places because there was nobody to babysit. In the urban area, this is not a joint family system. You and your family and the little baby, and you took her there everywhere, not to be exposed to art, not with that attitude, or to be adult, none of those. Only you took the baby along because that was the only convenient way, otherwise you couldn't go to a concert or to an exhibition.
Nandita, your parents separated when you were 7. And of course, Jatin largely brought you up.
Well, both did, but yes, I did stay more with him.
Did you become very close to him?
Yes, we fight a lot and we care a lot for each other, I think. And over the years, I think he's the real child. He often says, don't be my grandmother, which I am.
You use words to describe yourself which he uses for you. He says she's impulsive, restless, passionate, outspoken. And then he adds sometimes, and now I wish he'd be a little bit more cautious and perhaps circumspect.
Yes, and he warns me now, and I always tell him that he's always been so outspoken and has never been scared of anything. And that's what he's taught us. He used to say, Bhagwan bhi agar galat bole to, you should be able to tell him, that kind of an attitude. But now he sometimes, I guess because these are trying
Restrained
times.
and not cautious,
yeah,
restrained.
Why do you want her to be
The
restrained
times
now?
have changed.
that's the father in
The-
him.
No. It's not only father. You see, even in the art world, you know what's happening? You'll be surprised to know. Quite often for many events, if one is interviewed, many of my artist friends say that you sign commonly together on some papers or voice your opinion together. Don't be singled out. Are you listening to what I'm saying? So that is the kind of situation which has come into play in the society today, over-politicizing.
So in
of
other
things.
words, the world has changed and it's wiser to be safer today.
No, why
Not
is it
that
too?
he is.
No, not safer.
He's not
I'm
that
not
at
playing
all.
safe. No, please don't misunderstand me.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is to withdraw and refrain. Quite often I have to give unsolicited advice or give my opinion to close friends, which they used to respect. Today the time has come where nobody is concerned. Suppose a friend of yours came, quite often say in Nizamuddin. Innumerable artist friends used to visit each other, one-to-one basis, and Sitaib or Ramachandra, Paramji, whoever would come, you say, hey, that yellow is very nice, but the blue is very raw. And we'll have a cup of tea, then by sunset you have a drink, and whatever left, we eat together. And we are very critical and very direct with each other. Similarly, in Bombay, we're a poetry group.
You're
all
saying
artist
that
friends.
that world, that easy-going world, no longer exists.
No.
Not
really
easygoing,
easygoing.
transparency, honest, blunt with each other, close friends.
It's
That's
interesting.
period
Which
of
is true, I think. I mean, the way he thinks and talks about his days, I really feel sad that we haven't experienced that, you know, of friends, poets, artists, painters, musicians, theatre people sitting together, criticizing each other, liking each other, fighting
And
with
not
each other.
becoming enemies.
Not
you know?
becoming enemies. It's not like he said this. It's not misconstrued.
Yes,
There is
that's
a
right.
kind of friendship, you know, it's sort of larger than gains. It's not need-based. If you're talking to me, why are you talking to me? All those
The
things are just not,
calculation is missing.
yeah,
One of the qualities that he greatly admires and often talks about is innocence. He's often said that he sees it in you, and in fact he sees it in your brother. Do you admire innocence as much as he does?
absolutely. But I think my brother and I, not enough worldly wise, and thankfully so, but I think we're a little more sensible than he is. And I don't think I've ever told him this and on record, but I think he is not made for this world. And that's why he's constantly
No,
feeling
that's so true.
agitated and sad, yes, because he sees everything like a child. He doesn't understand why are people being clever. So you can stab him 10 times, and the 11th time if you come and say, I'm really sorry, and we'll tell him, come on, he did that 10 times, you can't possibly.
In other words,
now
he
listen
gets
to him.
taken for a ride quite easily by people who
So do we,
he should not
No.
trust.
but he's 100%
No, no, no.
more.
One is sharp enough to comprehend people's design, etc. But the point is, it's not a question of made for this world. What has happened, there's a drastic change that has taken place in our society, in the art world, in a matter of a decade.
But you haven't
And
let
I'm
people evolve
reminiscing,
with it. You
and I'm reminiscing of the kind of quality and ethics and dignity that we all had. As I
He's
said,
clinging on to an old
Yeah.
ethics that sadly today
not old,
being
not old.
squeezed
ethics,
out.
It's the other
values,
day. It's
you
the
know,
other day. It's not old.
Yeah,
But-
like when he left Orissa, which was at the age of 17 and ran off to JJ School of Art, he wants that home to be exactly the way it was. So every time he goes, he would want to, whether it's planting banana trees around the lake or whether it's fixing his mother's bed, he wants everything to be like that. But obviously people change, they have their own priorities, you know, lots of things change. He wants the world to be just probably as beautiful as it was.
She's suggesting that you're too good for this world, or the
No,
world
no,
is
I'm
too...
not. No. I'm not.
Well,
I'm
good is
not.
a subjective
I'm not
thing,
just
but I would
surprised.
say
You
yes.
know,
I mean,
I'm not just surprised. But the point is, what I'm talking of quality of
no,
life.
but that's why he's misunderstood, because people think, come on, he's seen life. How can he be, it's not innocence. They think, oh, there must be more to it. How can he not know this, or how can he not be careful? If he's spending 100 rupees, obviously he has 200 in his pocket. They don't realize he spends 101 when he has 100. You see? So simple things like that. I think that's why one of the most misunderstood people. And I'm not saying this as a daughter, if one can be subjectively objective, but I'm saying this as a person.
Nandita and Jatin, thank you very much for sharing your
Thanks.
lives and your personalities with us.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you.